Hey folks, this is Karen Trepte, Guiding Works Coaching, your productivity coach. I've got such a great treat in store for you today. This is my wonderful friend, Jen Crego. And we talk about time, we talk about productivity on my blog. And honestly, I think all of us as entrepreneurs, you can tell me in the comments if you're not one of them, struggle with our website and struggle with just trying to really get that under control. So I'm going to let Jen introduce more of herself and what she does. And as usual, we're just going to have our, cup of tea together and enjoy each other. So Jen, tell us about you.
Karen, first, thank you for having me here. This is wonderful. So I own Type B Studio. We create websites for businesses, online businesses, local businesses, e-commerce. We do website maintenance. So basically, we create the websites and then we take care of them for entrepreneurs afterwards so that small businesses and businesses can focus on their actual business instead of on their websites. So we have fun doing that.
That is so important. I know the maintenance part. I feel so funny like a kid, right? Because I know my husband's told the story of getting my son a car and then his not knowing even about that you had to put oil in it. Well, I think I'm going to raise my hand and just say that I kind of was in the same boat, figuring that I'm going to put a website up. I put a lot of money into it. I put a lot of effort into it, hired a lot of people, and I thought, check mark, done. No? Oh, no, it's such a big shock. So tell us, we've got a couple of different levels of business. Let's just put it that way, all equally stunning people, but different levels of business. We've got people on here in our audience who are like brand new, thinking maybe even of having a business, ones who've been in maybe a year or two, and then we've got some other ones who've really been crushing it for a while. So can you kind of speak to those three different levels, please, and what you can give them?
Yeah. So websites or maintenance or both or the whole thing?
The whole thing, the whole enchilada. And then I'll help you if you run. I gave you a lot to bite off. So
yeah. Well, you're right. Businesses need different things at different levels. So when a business is first starting out, they might not need a professional website to the degree that my company offers. I'm the first to admit that. Okay. So, sometimes people will say that, you can't have a business unless you have a website. And I do think that, yeah, you do need a website. Most businesses do. But that doesn't mean that you have to spend a whole lot when you're brand new. It does mean you should have a good professional site as soon as you can. And I believe that if you can't do that when you're brand new, if you cannot invest in a website when you're brand new, you absolutely must do it yourself. Then do the most basic, the most simple website that you can possibly do. If you're not a designer, do not try to be a designer. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I think that's
my own website, and actually that's not true. I had a business that I started online, I don't know how many years ago by now, like maybe 8 years ago. And I actually did it myself. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend who worked at Google, and I'd been coaching her amongst a bunch of other, people. And she loved the coaching, which was awesome. And she's like, Karen, I can't find any place to put a comment on here. I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, it's important. It's important. Yeah. I think to get some expert help, even in a small level. I mean, I'm sure I'm in a different generation than a lot of the folks who are starting businesses. So maybe they're more comfortable, and lots of folks are with tech, but I wasn't one of them.
You might be surprised. A lot of people of every generation are fairly comfortable. So I think there are huge barriers to that. we all have different things that we're good with.
Yeah.
So if you're not a designer, then just do the most basic website that you can possibly do. Just a but don't try to do anything and just build your business. Just get out there and make some money so that you can invest in a professional site. That's the best thing that I could say to do. And then once you can invest in a site, then you might still have time to maintain your site at that point too. Even if you don't necessarily have all of the technical skills that it requires, you have which is hard because when you're building a business, it doesn't seem like you do. Sometimes you have to make the decision. Do you have more time or do you have money? So choose which one.
Right.
And either do it yourself, pay for it. And if you have to do it yourself, there's some fantastic tutorials. It's just a matter of doing it. So that's the thing. That's where people, when it comes to maintenance, that's where they get themselves in trouble. I think I have a website, it's up, I don't have to do anything. And then some time goes by, things get outdated, and then they get a little bit more outdated. And then things start to break, and then things start to get hacked, and then it gets really bad. And then you don't have a backup because you never set that up. Right. And so then you lose your whole site. And I've seen that happen way too many times.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. We definitely don't want that to happen.
No.
So what level of business does someone need to be at to work with you? Like, who is your ideal client?
Good question. I don't know. I've never really thought about in that term as far as what level. I think that my maintenance clients are at all different levels. Okay. The biggest thing is that they've determined that for them, they would rather pay to have that maintenance done than to have to do it themselves. So I think it's a matter of priorities. Okay. Like for some people, they're at maybe the same level, and they just have a different priority. For them, they want to take care of the site on their own because something else takes a priority for them that they want to spend their money on, their business money. So it just really depends on the individual. I'm sorry, I'm not really answering that very well.
It's a great answer, Jen. I think that it means you're for all of us. That whatever level of business we're at, if we want to come to you for website maintenance, your arms and your doors are open. Am I hearing that right?
You are, yes.
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
absolutely.
That's great. That's a great answer. And then how about for the website construction? Like, are you dealing just with brand new businesses, or do you help people who are rebranding, or both? Or tell us about that.
Yeah, so we do both. We do a lot of businesses that we work with are online businesses. So, they have an online presence, but they're a local business. So, like a music teacher, cooking classes. What else? Yoga studio, all kinds of things like that.
Okay.
And then we also do e-commerce websites. So from WordPress e-commerce with using plugins like WooCommerce or Shopify sites.
You're talking about product-based businesses.
Product-based, yes.
the local folks that come to you that might have a small business that just say, I really think that I should have some sort of website so that people can connect with me that way too. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the people who are selling their products. And then I'm guessing you probably also have people who are selling their services.
We do, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we run the whole gamut.
Great. That's wonderful. Now we're going to back up a little bit because I think it's kind of fun, and I usually do this at the beginning of my interviews, but I was just so eager to just like jump right in. So let's back up a little bit, and can you tell us a little bit about you? Because I think it's really powerful when entrepreneurs share kind of their journey too. So what got you into being an entrepreneur, Jen?
The way I frame it, I always was. I just took a detour and worked in corporate for a while.
Great.
My parents owned a few pizza places when I was growing up.
Okay.
My mom was a teacher, so primarily my dad owned these pizza places. So I grew up in small business. Mm-hmm. And opened my own my first business was actually wrapping Christmas presents for other people. That was like when I was, I think, 14 or something like that.
Yes, but it also spoke to your design skills early because, for instance, I'm not that great at wrapping Christmas presents. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I enjoyed it. And then when I got a little bit older, I started a candle manufacturing company.
Wow.
That was a lot of fun, very labor intensive. But I was the cliche, started this manufacturing company with $750 out of my apartment kitchen and turned out to be a national wholesaler doing private label candles for some very successful brands. So it was a fantastic business. I loved it, but at the end, I was ready to be done with such a labor-intensive business. It was time to do something different.
Did you hire people to help you do the candles, or you did them all yourself?
I did hire people, but I worked with them.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you know how to make candles. See, this is fun. I never knew that about you. Okay.
Well, it's been a long time. I don't know if I'd still be able to, but it was fun.
Okay.
A little after that, I ended up going into corporate. There was a few little jobs, along the way, but I went into the corporate world. I was with a large retailer, an online retailer. And I was director of business development. So I was with that company for about 12 years and really loved it there for a long time. I learned so much. It was a fantastic team. I was dealing with products. So, learned a lot about how everything works, the shipping and the merchandising and design, and just how all of the dynamics, how it all comes together for this multi-million-dollar business. It was just a fantastic journey working for this company.
Wow, what a great training to be your own entrepreneur too.
Yeah, it really was, And in the back of my mind, I always knew this is training for when I go back on, into my own. So I loved it there for a long time until I just didn't anymore. It just wasn't.
It's time to move.
What I wanted. Yeah. And that was just in 2014, and I've been doing have had my own business just since 2014. So it's still relatively new.
That's really exciting. So how did you even start? Have you always been technical? When did you realize that, I can do this? I can take those design elements that obviously to me anyway came way back from you wrapping Christmas presents. I'm sure you did something very special with them to be paid for wrapping those presents, not my little, stick a piece of Scotch tape on there. So when did you incorporate that technical side of you? Did you learn about that in business development?
Yes, I think absolutely. Where the company I was with, business development was really involved with the marriage of all of the different departments and as they came together. So I would work very closely with IT and marketing and customer service. And as I worked very closely with them, I absorbed so much. I really owe so much of my knowledge to the fantastic team that I worked with. So yeah, and I'm just one of those people that I have to have a job that I can kind of bounce back and forth and use both sides of my brain. If I don't, then I get a little bored. Like I can't be too creative or I just miss the analytical side. And if I'm just doing the numbers and analytics, then I have a real craving to be creative. So I have to bounce back and forth or it's just not a good fit for me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay, so now we're gonna get close to wrapping up here. So we're gonna bounce back into the business side of this in terms of your current business. And do you have any tips for folks that are thinking about building a website?
Yes. On their own? Building a website on their own?
Sure, let's start there.
Okay. Yeah, I would go back to build the simplest, just do the most basic site that you can have up until you can invest in a professional designer. I think that it's the details that get a lot of what do they say? The devil's in the details.
Right.
If you're trying to make a site look really good, but it doesn't come, it's just not a skill that you have, then every single design element that you put out there, there's a little bit more of an opportunity that it's not going to come off the way you want it to.
Oh, okay.
So when I say to just make it as simple as possible, it's not because of the tech, although that's really helpful too. It's because you might think that a black background with green shadow looks fantastic, but it doesn't. Just do simple, do a white background and just a simple font, and no one hates that. But a lot of people hate a black background with neon green shadow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just as simple as possible.
That's a really generous, nice tip for you to give our audience. So, okay, so I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate here too and say, so what if I'm sitting on the other side of this camera screen and I'm like, I'm ready to hire a web designer or someone to really help me out. What kinds of things should I as the consumer be looking for? Because there's a lot of them out there, right?
So many. So many. First, I would say look for referrals. Really, talk to people that you know. Yeah. I talk to or hear from way too many people who have said, I have this project, we got started, and then this web developer kind of fell off the face of the earth. I don't know what to do. And there's way too many stories like that, unfortunately.
I've heard them too, actually.
Yeah. So I think first, start with referrals. Talk to the people you know and find out who they've been happy with and go from there. And it might be that you might see your friend's website, and it might be that your friend's website isn't the exact style that you would like. But if it's a good designer, then they will be able to do exactly what your brand needs. So check out your the different designers or developers look at their work, their portfolios, and see if there's variety there. So yeah, that would be my tip.
That's great advice. So Jen is my dear friend, so I'll just put that out front here too. I certainly trust her. So if people want to find you and hire you, how do they do that?
They can, my website is typebestudio.com. That's TYPE, B like boy, and then studio. That's, you can remember it like type B, like the type B personality, but typebestudio.com. And my email is jennifer@typebestudio.com.
Awesome. And I think one other thing that we should mention before we close this out is I think you have a fantastic opt-in, and I don't want to say it in case I'm preloading it. So what opt-in are you giving for your newsletter these days?
Well, I have a couple. You can, the main one on the website is, let's see, five tips for a website that sells. And that is a fantastic one. If you are into, it gives 5 great tips that would be good for someone who, if you're not working with someone, if you are working for someone, these are just tips that would just good general beefy tips that'll help anyone. And then if you are into SEO,
that's the part I thought we'd missed of the conversation. That's what I wanted to pull out of you. Yep.
I thought you might be thinking of that one. There is a blog post on the blog on the website, and there's an opt-in at the bottom of that blog post. I have not really made that, for some reason I haven't made that opt-in really very public, but in that one, when you opt in, you get a custom dashboard so that when you go to Google Analytics, you're not overcome with all of the confusion, all of the metrics that are there on the main dashboard. You just get a simple dashboard that shows you 10 things, just 10 important things that are important for every small business to take a look at once a month. It'll take you, once it's loaded, it'll take you less than 5 minutes to scan it on the first of every month. I highly recommend it.
And I highly recommend it too. I think folks, just for that alone, really check that out, because that is an awesome, really valuable piece of information. So I think we're going to leave it here. Jen, I just want to thank you so much for coming on my interview series here. And people can contact you through your website, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So sending all of you tons of light and love. This is Karen Trepte, Guiding Works Coaching, your productivity coach. And we'll see you all again next time. Cheers for now.